In the far southwest of Victoria, Australia, there is a landscape that looks, at first glance, like nothing at all. Black stone, swamp grass, water that goes nowhere in particular. But walk it with someone who knows what they are looking at, and the ground starts to speak. Those channels cut through solid basalt are not natural. Those low stone rings scattered across the plain are not random. That water, moving exactly where it needs to go, was put there by someone. And when archaeologists finally pulled a date out of the sediment, the number stopped them cold. 6,600 years. That is older than the Great Pyramid of Giza, older than the stone circle at Stonehenge, older than writing itself. This is Budj Bim, and for 2 centuries the world was told it could not exist. The story does not start with people, it starts with fire. Roughly 37,000 years ago, a volcano in southwestern Victoria erupted. Molten rock poured out across the plain, running more than 50 kilometers toward the coast, cooling into a jagged field of basalt riddled with cracks, hollows, and depressions. Geologists call it the Tyrinderra lava flow. The Gunditjmara people, who have lived in this country continuously since before that eruption, call the volcano Budj Bim, meaning high head. Their oral traditions describe the mountain as an ancestral being who revealed himself in the landscape, and they describe fire coming out of the earth. There is a stone axe at nearby Tower Hill that was buried under volcanic ash, meaning people were standing here, tools in hand, when the sky filled with smoke. That eruption did something crucial. The rough, uneven lava field trapped water. Seasonal floods spread out across it into shallow wetlands instead of draining to the sea. And into those wetlands every year came the eels. Short-finned eels, known as kuyang to the Gunditjmara, are born thousands of kilometers away in the Coral Sea. The young drift down the coast, swim up the rivers, and spend years fattening in inland wetlands before returning to the ocean to spawn. The Gunditjmara understood that migration completely, and then they engineered around it. Across more than 100 square kilometers, they modified the lava flow into a working system. Channels were dug and broken through basalt to divert water. Weirs were built to raise levels and control flow. Dams flooded new ground, ponds held live fish. Woven baskets sat in gaps in the stonework, sized to catch eels at particular stages of growth, and let others pass. Some channels run for hundreds of meters. Some connect entirely separate wetlands that nature never joined. This was not fishing, this was aquaculture, a landscape replumbed to farm a protein source at scale and to keep it alive and available year-round. And where you farm, you settle. Scattered across the flow are the remains of circular stone dwellings. Low walls of stacked basalt, roughly 3 to 5 meters across, that once supported domed roofs of branches, bark, and thatch. Not one or two. Clusters of them, in what can only reasonably be called villages. In 1841, the colonial official George Augustus Robinson rode through this country and wrote in his journal about an immense piece of ground, trenched and banked, comparing the earthworks to something he would expect from European civil engineers. He described the stone huts too. Then his account, and others like it, were quietly filed away and forgotten for 150 years. The modern reckoning came from dirt. Working with the Gunditjmering traditional owners, archaeologists excavated a section of the system known as the Muldoon's Trap Complex. They dated the sediments that had built up in and around the engineered channels and published a result of approximately 6,600 years before present. Sit with that. 66 centuries ago, while most of the world's famous monuments were still unimagined, people here were surveying a lava field, cutting stone, managing water flow, and building houses out of rock. Other parts of the wider system return dates in the same deep range, and the eel economy itself is likely older still. The stone infrastructure is just the part that survived. It makes Budj Bim one of the oldest known aquaculture systems anywhere on Earth. Not the oldest in Australia. The oldest, full stop, in serious contention with anything humanity has produced. Here is the uncomfortable part, and it is the real reason this discovery carried a shockwave far beyond archaeology. British colonization of Australia rested on a legal fiction, terra nullius, land belonging to no one. The justification leaned on a claim about how Aboriginal people lived, that they were purely nomadic, built nothing permanent, farmed nothing, and therefore had no relationship to land that European law needed to recognize. Budj Bim is a physical refutation of that claim, sitting in the open, in stone. Permanent housing, engineered water management, a managed food supply with storage, surplus, trade, because smoked eel traveled long distances, preserved in hollowed trees over slow fires and exchanged across the region, large gatherings that a reliable food base made possible. The categories were never as clean as the textbooks pretended. Budj Bim does not just add a footnote to Australian history, it removes the foundation from a story that shaped a continent's laws. There is a strange coda to this. In late 2019, bushfire moved through the Budj Bim landscape. When the smoke cleared and crews walked the burnt ground, they found something. With the dense scrub stripped away, previously hidden sections of channel and stonework were suddenly visible. Stretches that had been swallowed by vegetation and missed by every earlier survey. Aerial laser scanning has since mapped the terrain in fine detail, tracing engineered features under the plant cover. The system keeps getting bigger. Researchers openly say the full extent is still unknown. In July 2019, UNESCO inscribed the Budj Bim Cultural Landscape on the World Heritage List, the first place in Australia listed exclusively for its Aboriginal cultural value. But the nomination did not come from a university or a government department acting alone. It was driven by the Gunditj Mara themselves. The people who fought through the Umarala Wars in the 19th century, who watched Lake Condah drained for farmland, who had the wetlands restored in 2010, and who manage this country today. Which brings us to the word that keeps getting used in headlines about this place: discovery. Nothing here was discovered. The channels were never lost. The traps were used within living memory. The knowledge was held and passed down and spoken aloud to anyone who bothered to listen for 6,500 years. What actually happened at Budj Bim is that the rest of the world finally started paying attention.